Thank you. Once again, good evening to each one of you, and good to see a very sizable attendance in this first minute itself. I hope all of you are staying safe, and we are all looking forward to better days ahead. Today, being the 19th of December, is a very special day for all of us at Kerala Management Association. It is a 100th birth anniversary day of one of the founding fathers of KMA, Sri MKK Nair, a true visionary leader, a civil servant with high clarity of thought, decisive and ethical. Mr. MKK was someone whose connect went all the way up to the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. Before coming to Cochin to steer the fortune of the gigantic FACT, he had proven his mettle at the Bhilai steel plant at Madhya Pradesh. Someone who not only looked after the early industrialization of Kerala with a huge public sector fertilizer company called FACT, he was also responsible for setting up many other companies here under the state, central, and private sector ownership. How many of you will know that our Medical Trust Hospital at Pallimuk, which was a pioneer in healthcare service in Cochin, came out of the vision of MKK? A host of other notable institutions such as the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Ernakulam also owes their origin to the man who could be very well called the Bhishmacharya of industry in Kerala. MKK pioneered the management movement itself in Kerala. He was instrumental in bringing Sri M.V. Paili to Kerala to start the real management training in the state of Kerala. In the year 1960, when our first president, Sri Venkataraman of the Cochin Port Trust, retired from his office, Sri MKK Nair, who had by then become the managing director of FACT, took over as our president. He presided over and steered the destiny of the association for the next more than a decade. This is also the period when Kerala grew industrially, and in fact, Kalamassery became the industrial hub of the state. He spearheaded and initiated many meaningful activities at KMA that made KMA a brand to reckon with in the arena of management and management education. It was during that time in 1970 that the first monthly newsletter under the name of KMA News Digest was brought out by him. He continued as our president till he got transferred from FACT in 1972. A multifaceted, thoughtful, and impactful visionary. We are so proud that our legacy is built around him, and he spent a sizable time and efforts for our organization in its growth to this stage today. On this special day, when we commemorate his birth centenary, let us all salute and offer our respectful pranams to this great management leader, Sri MKK Nair. Well, today we have the fifth Leader Talks lecture of the year with another leader, Dr. Sandeep K. Krishnan, Director of People Business at Bangalore and an adjunct faculty at various IIMs at Indore, Bangalore, and Kozhikode. He is going to enlighten us on a very useful and relevant topic: how to develop a consulting mindset for professional success. While we have had many sessions in the past discussing about ways in which many businesses, industries, and professions function, this is a session of a different kind, dealing with our mindset itself. A highly qualified HR professional and a certified executive coach, Dr. Sandeep will keep us engrossed for the next 30 minutes or so. Let me, on behalf of the Managing Committee at KMA and all of us present here, wholeheartedly welcome Dr. Sandeep Krishnan to this edition of Leader Talks lecture series. We have some of our past presidents, our Senior Vice President Nirmala Lilly, Program Committee Chair, past President S.R. Nair, Honorary Secretary Jomon, Vice President Mr. A. Balakrishnan, other Managing Committee members, past President Raj Mohan Nair, members of our association and other local management associations, student members in large numbers, invited guests, and members of the media. present here. Let me welcome all of you to this evening session and wish you all a very meaningful and useful session ahead. As always, please take a minute out by the end of the session to fill in our feedback form, which would help us in making our events and programs even better and more useful to you and your time spent with KMA. Feedback form, that link will pop up in the chat area and you can click on that to fill it up. Just a minute, that's all. Now to introduce the speaker and to set the ball rolling, may I request Program Committee Chair and Past President, Mr. S.R. Nair, to take the session forward. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, President Madhav. Chairman of the meeting, Madhav, past presidents, KMA members, ladies and gentlemen, and our my dear friend Sandeep Krishnan, Dr. Sandeep Krishnan, who is going to deliberate upon the topic today. I will introduce Dr. Sandeep Krishnan and let him start the presentation, which would take about 30 to 35 minutes, and then we will have question and answer session. So anyone who has a question, normally our method is that you put a question on the chat board and I'll pick it up and read out your name and read out your question. Okay. Now, Dr. Sandeep K. Krishnan is a senior partner of a leading HR and leadership consultancy firm, People Business, based at Bangalore. He is also a visiting faculty in the organizational behavior at IIM, Ahmedabad and Indore. A fellow of Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, Dr. Sandeep Krishnan is a certified global professional in human resources from HRCI and has a certification in executive coaching from Cambridge University. Dr. Sandeep had worked in marquee organizations before he became a partner with People Business, such as EY, IBM, and Infosys. He has led many transformational projects in the HR space and as a practitioner and as a consultant. His research has been published in all leading journals. He is the author of the widely read book, The Making of a CEO, and his second book on consulting mindset is underway. So let me introduce Dr. Sandeep Krishnan, presenting Dr. Sandeep Krishnan to you, and let us hear from him. Your questions may kindly be put in the chat board. Sandeep, all yours. Please take over.
Thank you so much, and a very warm evening to all of you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I really like the kind of warmth that the members of KMA have with each other. It was very nice that I joined 10 minutes early, and to hear all of you chatting, it was a wonderful experience. And thank you so much for inviting me for the session. I think it's a very well professionally run association, and it's always a pleasure to be here. So what I will do today, in the next 30 minutes or so, consulting for a while now, and it's been an interesting experience. And this book, which I'm writing right now, is also given me a lot of thoughts in terms of some of those, insights of doing consulting in the business world. And many of these things, which I'm going to tell you, you might be aware of it, you might have experienced it, and with experience that each one of you are holding here. A lot of things, what I'm going to say is probably putting it together in the right perspective. So I would love to hear your feedback and also your add-ons to the, the insights that I'm probably sharing today. So let me just share my presentation. Is it visible to you?
It is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, go to the full screen, sir. Yeah, right. Thank you.
Fine.
So what I will discuss is, on 5 aspects. One is on presentation with impact, or how do you present with impact? The second element which I would look at is in terms of what is critical thinking and how it can help us. Third, I will look at knowledge and frameworks, how it is used in the business world. Fourth, I will look at how do we network? Because one of the things that in being successful in a consulting world is networking. So how do we network and how do you make use of your networks? What works in that context? And the last one I would look at is in terms of golden rules to lead. Now there are so many things that we can speak about, right? But I will stick to this, and I'll stick to one or two key aspects in these elements. Is it okay? So 5 things and probably 5 to 7 minutes on each of these topics. So that's a nice pyramid you can see. I think an Egyptian pyramid. Yeah. So this is a very interesting principle of presentations. I mean, we all see presentations all the time. We have large presentations, 30 slides, 50 slides, 100 slides. It's very common, right? When you give a lot of insights to people, we want to share a recommendation. What is it all about? Now, this pyramid principle is a very thought through thing by a lady who bought it. Her name is Barbara Pinto, and it's been used by most of the leading consulting firms. What do they do? What does she say? Look, I was recently in a presentation where this person has saved in a consulting assignment almost 10 crore rupees in terms of a manufacturing defect solution. So there was a lot of wastages which was happening in a tire factory, and through certain technical methods in terms of optimization, in terms of refabrication of the machinery, the person could save almost 10 crores within a period of 6 months, and this could have been much higher in over a period of time. Now, when we presented it, the first presentation which was shown to me, it started off with a problem, then it started off with what has really happened, how did he went about doing the technical analysis, then what are the solutions that he thought about, and then finally came up with these recommendations. So by the time it came to the recommendations, I was bored. Because that's what happens, right? You have lengthy presentations going on, and our attention span is very less. Now, what is this pyramid principle? It says what your recommendation is, what you have got, put it up front. In the first few 1 or 2 slides, the person should know what is this all about? What is the outcome? Then he refabricated, rearranged the whole slides and came back and said, look, this is a saving the 6 months. These are the 3 things that I did. These are the root cause and the problems that we identified. Put it up there. So when it was presented to the CEO, finally, CEO said, wow, wonderful job. Imagine if he has gone the other route and shown the whole thing, and then, the technical analysis, the mechanical engineering behind it, the chemical engineering behind it, the kind of refabrications done. The executive team doesn't have time to look at all this. So the pyramid principle says, start from what is your recommendation, your opinion, go to the next one in terms of detailing whenever it's required. So it comes down. So then you branch out into different aspects and share what are the details. This is a very interesting one. The effective consultants or effective presentation, any professional can use this as a, way to communicate briefly and more effectively in the beginning itself. So if you've got 5 minutes, you start with this and show what is relevant. Okay. So that's the pyramid principle, which I find it very, very useful. And whenever I rehash my presentations or PPTs to people, this is something which I do. I hope you got an idea about this. Now, let me just tell you an interesting story. Okay. And this was when I was consulting with Manappuram Finance. You know Manappuram, right? All of us know that. And it's a famous one. And I think it was quite they made it really big. This was in 2008-9 period. And at that time I was with EY. And Manappuram had a lot of issues at that time. There was people who were leaving, challenges were there. And they had bought in us as that is the time also they were planning for tremendous growth. I should give it to Mr. Nandakumar. The way in which he has grown it is tremendous. So we were and one of the things that we proposed to them is that you need to have a vision. What's the purpose of this company and how do you take it ahead, right? And that time we had the board there, and there was one member who sat and said, look, why are we here? Because if you look at it, really that the kind of companies like Manappuram has an impression in the public, which is negative as well because of the interest rates and things like that. So he said, look, why are we here? What is our purpose? Why are we looking at, a vision? So one of the board members said, look, when I looked at this business, the most interesting thing is look at an auto rickshaw guy. He has a emergency at home. There is some treatment to be done for his parents. And he was saying it is a real story. And he needed some money. So he had three options. One was to go to the bank. And that time banks now has become much more easier on gold loans. But at that time, they take a time, you need to be introduced, you need to have all these challenges. And by the time you get the money, you get only 60% of the value of the gold, right? Or less than that. So it's like at least a 1 week. So he doesn't have time, and neither he doesn't have that much gold to give as well. The second option is going to but banks charge around 10 to 12% at that time. Other option is going to what's it called, the pawnbrokers, right?
Yeah.
They charge 100%, 150%. That look, they will give immediately the money, but the gold is gone because you can't repay the kind of interest that they will take. Third option is that we have the Manappuram, the Muthuts of the world, or other organized players, the NBFCs, which probably will charge you 18% to 22%. But we make life easy for you. We make it in 3 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever their promise is. 10 minutes, you probably get your gold loan out, right? So that's what, and you get 90% of the value, gold to value. He said, that's what we are giving to people. We are making their life easy. We are making their convenience. That's what we exist for. And that was a very strong statement that person made with that story. And if you look at it, the logo of Manappuram, it says now, make life easy. In that meeting, it was crafted. Now, that's the power of stories, right? So why I told you the story was also, the other thing which makes a great presentation is stories. Because stories create those emotions. I can tell you hundreds of theories, but when I told you that story about Manappuram, the auto rickshaw driver, the character, the board member, what he said, and finally what came out, you were able to relate to it, right? If I could speak about a vision for 30 minutes, but this makes more sense in terms of telling something with ease and which can relate to people. So stories create emotions. It creates memories. Now, after 10 days also, if I ask you about this Manappuram story, you'll be able to recollect it. It shows the purpose, why it was created, how it was created, and my purpose was very clear. It has characters, it has an outcome, and it has got some surprises and twists also which we can bring in. So I'm sure that people like Mr. Nair and all are effective storytellers. Even today, I had a WhatsApp from him, which is an interesting story about the captain of India cricket. So those are the stories, because that adds to the depth of our conversations in a presentation. For example, an organization like Amazon, when we work with them, they say, look, don't give us PPTs. Tell us stories and case studies. What you have done, how you have done. And one of the things that we also, in terms of organizations, nowadays, when you go to the clients, we don't show that exhaustive frameworks and other things. We try to minimize and say, look, this is what happened in this company when we did it. These were the challenges. This is how it didn't happen. What were the issues there? So storytelling creates that impact. I think two things which I want to tell on presenting with impact. One is that pyramid principle. Second one is create those emotions with stories, because people would like to relate to it. Yep. So let me go to the next part. This is about critical thinking, right? Now, as a consultant or anybody, as a professional, the analytical ability is one of the critical aspects of success. If you are able to think through, if you are able to analyze properly, very, very important skill. Now, what does it involve? One is when you are communicating also, clarifying your thinking. Are you sticking to a point? Are you able to communicate what you are supposed to communicate? That is a very critical element of critical thinking. Second is stick to your point. Don't go here and there. Now, people also have the habit of questioning, right? They don't like to ask questions or clarify. Questioning is a very important skill in terms of critical thinking. But what kind of questions are you asking? Fourth element is being reasonable. Don't go here and there in terms of, logical stuff when you're communicating to people or understanding an issue, because that will also not help. Now, anything when you look at in terms of consulting, we are trying to build a hypothesis. I'll tell you an example. One of the companies that we worked with as an org transformation project, one of the issue which they had was attrition. It was a pharma company and it was a high attrition issue was also there. And the attrition, immediately when he spoke to HR head said, look, we need to reduce the number of freshers we are taking. I think freshers are causing this high attrition number, and this is the waste of time for us because they leave quickly. Now, right now, what do you do with this when you have a situation like it? And at that time, when I was relatively young in consulting, I said, look, this is a problem. He is stuck on this issue of freshers. Then one of my consulting leaders were there. He said, look, let's look at the data. What does the data say? So we looked at the 2 years attrition. We looked at in terms of what was the trend of experienced people in different levels of experience, people who have grown up, all those things we looked at. Then we came up with this data that, if you take out this whole freshers out, the attrition percentage is almost another 30% more. So we went back to the data and said, look, your hypothesis that this issue was because of freshers is not valid. It doesn't work. Now, each one of them, whether, why, for example, sales is falling, why, for example, you don't have the market share, why, for example, a product is failing in the market, why, all these things you have 2 or 3 hypotheses to come up with what is the issue. That is a essence of a solid, building of the business case, why it happens, what are the variables involved, and correlating them. I think that is an interesting skill if we can build, would be of great help. Other thing of others, I mean, there are a lot of techniques and all. I think some of you would have heard about this technique called 5 whys, right?
Yes.
You ask this why 5 times. Why, for example, my product is not selling. Why? You might say, look, the product is not good. Why? The product is not good because it doesn't have the features the competition is offering. Why it doesn't have? Because we have not done a proper product it's still in development. So then he said, why? They didn't have time to launch. That's why it has come out like that. So you're going to of what is the root cause. So those are some of those techniques that can really help us in the critical thinking process. I hope this part is something which you can relate to, right? Let me go to the next one. Now, I think consultants, business leaders, we are all very happy to use kind of frameworks, models that suit us. I mean, that's very interesting, right? Because it gives us a perspective. Now, for example, a SWOT analysis. I think that can be used everywhere. Strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Then you have the 5 forces model of the Porter, which speaks about, how an industry is structured, right? And it's a very interesting one. But how do you really differentiate? I mean, these are all available, very commonly known. But when you use this, I think the usage is the critical element when you're doing effective consulting, or not even consulting, when you're using it in your organization. Everybody can do a SWOT analysis, but what is the essence of a SWOT analysis? The SWOT analysis essentially says that the strength and the weakness is internal to the company. I have a brand is internal to me. I have good manpower. Now that is also internal. My weakness might be, I don't have, for example, my financial P&L is in losses. That's a weakness to me. Opportunities and threats are external to the firm. What are the opportunities that I see outside? Now, once you structure these kind of thoughts, it gives us the best way to analyze our company. So a SWOT analysis is always used for a company analysis or anything that even a functional analysis, you can use it. But the key is that, is it data-based? When I say, look, I've got great manpower, what does it mean? How can you define it? That gives a lot of answers. And how do you differentiate between what is internal and what is external? The second part is, for example, the 5 forces speaks about industry analysis. Should I enter, for example, an airline industry? One of the world's worst industry to enter is airlines. Still, so many people have entered it and have lost their money. Why still people are interested in that? Because if you look at the 5 forces, everything is against them. One is, for example, customers. Bargaining power of customers are high because customers want the cheapest and they will get for the cheapest price. Bargaining power of the vendors are high, or external partners, right? The airports, your government agencies, everybody who manages this thing is high. Your competition is high. Now, if you look at even the substitution, there are hundreds of substitutes for an airline. You have railways, you have car, you've got everything. And ease of entry also is there, relatively easy for others to enter into the market. With all this also, why people are entering the industry is a question mark. So when you are in a business, the good question to ask is, how am I placed in this industry? What can I differentiate in the competition? What can I do differently? Then only I can probably survive in an industry which is highly unattractive to enter. Similarly, education, right? It's very difficult. It's a very difficult industry to be in. Still, people are putting money into it. People put money into the airline because of the glamour. People put money into the movie because of the glamour. So you understand things in a different perspective when you use these frameworks. The other 2 elements which I feel is very interesting is that, business and the financial acumen, because there's a lot of there are not functional silos that exist. If I need to, I'm working in an organization, I need to have that business acumen and financial acumen, which I've realized very early. And what I have done is 2 things. One is invest in shares. Because share market, when you invest and you look at few shares and learn about it, you look at the different forums, you look at their annual reports, you look at the investor presentations, it gives a lot of insights in terms of how the business is really functioning, or even the management commentary. And that's a wonderful way to understand a business. Second thing is in terms of, for example, if you don't know the shares, etc. I've seen that, the Varsity, there is a very interesting tool called Varsity by Zerodha. It's a very nice platform which you can learn a lot of these financial concepts for free. And third thing which I say is that, investing in new knowledge and skills. For example, these days, a lot of people speak about AI, machine learning, analytics, big data. I mean, that's like everybody's terminology. Now, one way to say is that, oh, these are all hype. But these are the things which are changing the world now. Now, if you need to be on the top, how do I really look at the new knowledge which is happening? I had a very interesting, Dr. Alfred is there. He's a known surgeon. I mean, a few days back, we were speaking about surgery, and he does a lot of robotic surgery. And he was also telling me that, about how surgery has happened across the Atlantic. That means the surgeon is somewhere else and the robot is doing it here. And it's only a millionth of a second difference in terms of the action. So those are things which are even happening in this world. Now, I can't be away from it, right? Because if you are in the business world, people are looking at what next. How can I survive from the disruptive forces that are happening around me? And one of the things is that, for example, when I looked at it, I want to look at what is AI and ML. I did some basic courses in Coursera. It helped me to understand what are those terminologies, what are the things that are happening. I think it's good to be updated, even though you're not in those fields. And that's another insight I would say in terms of this knowledge in the frameworks. Yeah. The fourth element I'll speak about is on networking. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of consultants here, and consulting works on networking. That means you know people, you work with them, you understand them, you get business out of it, you build your business out of it. Now, I would say there are 4 phases of this growing of this network with each individual. One is getting in touch. You get in touch through, your personal contacts, LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere. That's the first step. The second, or you meet in a meeting and you say, hi, I'm so and so, and somebody will introduce you. The second one is that you say, look, can I have your phone and can I talk to you? You go and meet that person, you build that comfort of talking, maybe 1 or 2 meetings, then you're conversing with ease. Third is, for example, connection, building the relationship. And that is where, there is an ease of working and connecting. And the last one is the care, mutual respect and benefit. That means that that other person is really watching out for you, supporting you, connecting up with you. I think that's how slowly the relationships get built, and it takes effort. You drop out of the second part, it's okay. I mean, I don't think, but a lot of us drop out in the first phase itself, getting in touch, right? Second is the little bit of effort you have to put. Third, you need to put a little bit more effort. So there is an effort also involved in this process. And I think successful business leaders knows how difficult it is, right, to build relationships. And what I also see is that in the different business leaders whom we meet, there are some people who are very comfortable. They are open to you. There are some people who, they will say good things, but after that it's gone. Then there are people who are really blockers. They don't want you to be near them. They're very private. They want their life to be private. There are also people, it's hard to break into their inner, connections. So one thing is that, the message is, if you want a network, it's not about the number of FB friends. It's not about the number of LinkedIn connects. Of the LinkedIn connects, I've got some 11K LinkedIn connects. I don't think that I have more than 150 of them or 200 of them, which are in the 3rd or the 4th quadrant. So that's the effort that you have to build in building that. And I think I think that building that mutual care and benefit, that's where the success of the network really happens. And this is my favorite part, the leading, because often consulting is a glamorous job. It's very difficult because you are making a lot of youngsters to really slog. They have to do great things at a very high pace, learn a lot, and do some really good work, and you get criticized if you don't do a good job. If, for example, I worked with Jaya ma'am here, and if Jaya ma'am had not liked my work, she would come and say, look, Sandeep is going and talking here. He did a very bad job in my company. What is he talking about today? But I have a great respect and, I would say relationship with Jaya ma'am, because I did something, I think, reasonably good work there. That's what I, take pride in. Managing these teams, I think 2-3 things I would say. I have I think my father's student is here, and he was, I think, studied OB. One interesting concept I've always kept in mind is something called the Pygmalion effect. Have you heard about this Pygmalion effect? Good. So some of you have heard this Pygmalion effect, but it's a very interesting thing. I'll tell you about another story about this. There was this is also called Rosenthal effect, and they were educationalists, educational psychologists, or educationalists, I would say. They did an experiment with 3 sections of students. They put the students into 3 different sections, and they called the teachers of these 3 sections and told them, hey, the first section A, you have the best of the students. Please take care of them. They are going to do really well. Then they had section B. I said that the teacher, see, unfortunately, you have got the most difficult of the students. They're not really the best of the performers, but you take care of them. Then they had the third section. They didn't say anything to the teacher. Said, look, this is a random lot. Just take care of them. But these 3 sections were made without any thought. They were all randomly distributed. Now, can you tell me what happened finally? Any guesses? After the first year, or 6 months, how was the performance of these students? Any guesses? Any guesses from anybody? Anil sir is there? Any guesses, Nirmala ma'am?
There are some on the chat. Say, for example, Matthew Kurshingal says the first group were at the top.
Okay. So that's I think, I think somebody else has also chat.
Yeah, he also says first group is, Krishnan says first group is the best.
Okay. Interesting. So I think that's what I'm saying. You all have the right answers. So that's the, very randomly selected group. Only thing they did was they created that expectancy, right, in the students, that teachers, saying that you have got the best lot. They performed the best. Second best was the random group, and third best was the group which they said were the poor performance. So because the expectancy which was set actually reflected finally the performance. Now, very interesting, mindset, I would say. And I'll tell you, when I was a student, I remember there was one sister. I was in my class, I was out of 39, out of 41 students, till my 4th standard, I was ranked 39th. And I think someday, once I also hit, I think 40 out of the 41. Yeah. So that was, I was really high ranked in the class. So, but then suddenly in the 5th standard, another teacher came who said, look, you have some skills. You looks like, you can do some things very well. And by my 9th, I think that year itself, I was in the top 5. And by that time I was in the 9th standard or something. I was almost like the first 1 or 2. I think the only thing that teacher did was to create that feeling that I can do well. That's a very interesting skill. I mean, look at us as parents, or, some of you might be grandparents or parents, grandparents, or, as leaders of your companies, CEOs, MDs. How do I create that feeling that you are some of the best people? How do I curtail their thoughts in terms of how much can they perform? I think that is something which I believe, that's what creates. You will see how this, 20 or something consultants are producing those great recommendations, because they are always fed in the minds that, you are some of the best people. You can do it. That is an interesting skill that you can give yourself, and also to the people in your family, to the people in your company. How they create that Pygmalion effect? Second thing I would say is in terms of cultivated learning. Now there is a very interesting book called The Growth Mindset. And this growth mindset, or it's called the mindset, the book is called, Carol is the author, it's called The Mindset. It says that there are people who have got the growth mindset and there are people who don't have the growth mindset. The growth mindset people, irrespective of their age, their experience, their qualification, they always feel that there is something that I can do more, I can learn more. And the ability of the people to do that, that means, and I say it is cultivated learning, not learning anything here and there, but what is relevant, what is useful for their growth and for serving their company or business is something which I call as the cultivated learning. That's the second part. And third, which is in terms of, so how do I create that environment of cultivated learning? Third one is that, the peaking zone. I would say in terms of the performance, there are 4 zones. One is something called the lazy zone. That means there are employees in your company, in our, which people whom we are working with, they don't do much. They're not motivated, engaged. They don't have any goals much. Here and there, they're floating around. They are in the lazy zone. Then there are people who are in the relaxed performance. That means they are doing it, but, we know that they are doing it 60%. There's no stretch in terms of the goals, performance, etc. It's just going on. Then there is something called the peaking zone. Imagine it's like, you're playing football, right? That time which you are on the court, you're playing it to the best. You don't remember anything. You don't remember what's happening at home. You're not remembering anything. You're just in the game. But peaking zone is for a time. You can't be always in the peaking zone. And if you exceed it, it will also lead to burnout. That's the 4th zone. So how do I keep my people in between the relaxed performance and the peaking zone? Then that's an ability of a manager or a leader. That means I'm always giving them something stretch, something to learn, something that makes them feel that they can do better. And these are things which I feel are some of those golden rules to lead. Yeah. So these 3 I feel are, if we can use it rightly, can create that magic in terms of the performance. So that's more or less what I wanted to cover. So we spoke about those 5 aspects: ascending with impact, the critical thinking, knowledge and frameworks, then the networking elements, and the golden rules to lead. Any questions at this moment? Any thoughts that I don't agree with it, or this is interesting, I can relate to it, and I don't relate to it. I'm happy to take any questions, and I hope that this covers those 5 elements with ease for you.
Thank you, Dr. Sandeep Krishnan. Prajit, we could come to the normal mode where the presentation can be taken off. We will, Biju Nilambaran, please put a question on the chat mode. I will ask on your behalf. Okay. Now, I'll start with some questions from my side, and then we will take questions from others as well. Sandeep, there has been this challenge of this word consultant. We say how to actually develop consultant mindset is the question, and we are very matter of factly, without exciting us, but very, very core area that you have been able to bring it to attention. But fundamentally, there's a problem of this word called consultant. This is the most abused and most misused and a word which has now lost its meaning and relevance. So what is your take on this actually?
Yeah. So, see, there are, I'll give an analogy to the medical profession, right?
Yeah.
So we have consultants there, the medical consultants. Now, there are specialist consultants, there are generalists, right? Now, if I go to a general medicine person, he might give me an overview of what's wrong with you. And then when I say, look, it might require a surgical intervention, or it might require a, some other medical intervention, or it might require deep look at what's going on.
Yes.
That's where the specialists come in. Now, the whole element is there are specialists in the management world as well. So who knows something more than what the organization intelligence has.
Okay.
And that's where the consultant should come in. Now, you might say, look, a consultant is coming in and, he's asking a few questions here and there, and he is coming and giving back the answers that he or she would have heard from us only. That's a typical thing that, people make fun of consultants. That's also true because there are a lot of contextual things that the person has to come in. And just like a doctor asked a question to a patient, a good consultant should understand the context really well, but at the same time, add his or her value in terms of what next. That's where the value addition zone comes in. A good diagnosis is very essential for a good treatment. Now, that diagnosis is knowing what is happening around, and that's through the interviews, discussions, that the person really understands it. And second is in terms of saying that what is to be done. Now, the second part is that, in terms of the solutioning, there are two parts to it. One, what am I adding value to? I am adding value on 2-3 fronts. One is I have understood this organization more than even the person who is the CEO there.
Okay.
Because I have probably gone through every part of it, understood the gist of it, and what I've heard things that probably the CEO has not heard. Has not heard. And I have stitched it all together. So my intelligence of your system has increased because I've been part of it now for a while.
Okay.
Second thing is I'm unbiased. I don't give a damn about what you think, right? Third is in terms of my collective intelligence from outside, because I would have worked with so many other contexts. I'm bringing in some thoughts which will align to this, what's happening around here. And with all this, I would say this is better to do it. So that's the value that typically the consultants will do. That is on a higher level. Second is transactional level. It's sometimes that, there are things that the organization knows that it should do XYZ things, but it needs a catalyst who will come in and push that agenda. And sometimes consultants do that job. Because in the running concern, it's very difficult for people to do. So in my experience, what I would say, I've worked in both the company and also in the consulting part. It's foolishness sometimes to say, look, we can do everything ourselves. It is okay to do also. There's nothing wrong in it because now the knowledge is free, right? If I search about anything, I got the knowledge there. But somebody will put it all together and put that effort in the right perspective is something that a consultant will do for you. And then the fourth element, that's where the fallacy of consulting comes in, right? Just like a doctor will say, hey, you are the borderline of diabetes. It's better that you walk 2 kilometers a day. You do XYZ things. But sometimes the consultants will give you those recommendations and go out because that's what he or she is mandated to do.
Okay.
Now the walking and the running needs to be done by the company sometimes.
Yes.
And that's where sometimes these things don't happen.
Well said. I have, before I take questions from others, I think we have 4 or 5 questions there, but one more question from my side. See, this jargonized consulting and high sounding words such as framework and things like that, which actually, it often become confusing. And many often a CEO or a decision maker is given so much of input and data, which is beyond his comprehension by the consultants. How does one manage it, Sandeep?
Very good question, sir. And I think that's been also, it all depends on the client. A good consultant should know what is the client like, right? Again, I will correlate to a doctor.
Okay.
Nowadays, people go to a doctor and before they come in also, they would have done the Google search, they would have done everything and say, they've got a few words for themselves. I have got this, I've got this, I've got this, etc. And they are skeptical. They're skeptical of the doctor also. Nowadays, That's what's happening, right? Because of
Yeah, they questioned the doctor, in fact, with the Google proof. Yes.
yeah, Google proof.
Yes.
Now that is happening. Now, what am I as a consultant supposed to do? When there is a problems in my hand, a consultant should know in terms of saying that, look, how do I connect to what my audience is that there? There might be a CEO or a functional head who likes frameworks, who likes, things in a very detailed manner. There are some CEOs who wants to say, what is really happening? Tell me in simple words. There are some people who need exhaustive ways of, arranging data, and they want a data-based approach. So some of the things that a good consultant would do is customize to the client and make it educate the client where required.
Okay.
I think it's a very, like today what I was spoken to you, there are a few words here and there. What is that Pygmalion effect, or, cultivated learning? It might sound jargon, but that thing will also stay in your mind. So how do you use it in a way that it is reflecting in the mind of the audience?
Receiver. That's the customizing element is the right thing that you have said, Dr. Sandeep. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is another. So you want somebody to counter you. So this is coming from Biju Nilambaran. He says the pyramid presentation model sounds counterintuitive, especially when you are trying to sell something. Personally, I feel this should be this would be a strategy adopted depending upon the level of audience we are interacting with. Like you rightly touched upon, this would be a right approach when you are talking to the top brass. Probably the pyramid would be invited when you are entering the account as an influencer level. My thought. That's what actually he had actually put a thought on that. Okay. Our MC member, Hemant Bahura, head of Petronet Energy HR and Administration, asked how to convert the lazy, relaxed people to peaking zone. Yes, Sandeep.
I'll take the second question first, and I'll come to the first question.
Yeah.
When I'll give a humorous answer first, and then come to the right answer to the second question.
Yeah.
So last time I was talking to one of the team members, and then I was speaking to his manager also.
Yeah.
I told him that to the manager, it's time to light up his backside so he goes off faster. So that is also needed. Sometimes, see, you have to understand what is preventing that person to do the great work. One is probably there is a lot of disinterest, it's bored. Because when you look at the youngsters, typically the youngsters in any company, they are the most energetic, they are the most, thoughts, new ideas. But unfortunately, because of the hierarchy, they are given the silliest of the jobs.
Yeah, least importance. Okay.
Least important stuff, paper pushing, useless clerical stuff is given. Now, if that is given, the person is get bored, right?
Yes.
So the first thing to do is find that something that to that person, maybe he or she has got 70% operational stuff, but 30% make it interesting for that individual, so that the person feels that I'm doing something substantial.
Okay.
Second thing, which is that, which I think the Simon Sinek's principle.
Yeah.
The power of why.
Yes.
Why are you doing this? Many a times managers don't communicate to their team members why you're doing it, because they like, to keep that information with themselves. You feel
Okay.
that. So nobody knows why I'm supposed to do these things. So it becomes, again, disengagement. Third set of people are the ones who really need that. So it's again the danda which is required.
Okay.
How do you push them and say, look, these are things that you should do to make things happen.
Okay.
Purpose is something which is very critical. Second is interesting job which you can give.
Yeah.
Third is element around, sometimes you have to push them hard.
Yes.
People need to go out of their comfort zone in terms of achieving something. And one thing which I have realized, see, when we work with people, they have got a lot of insecurities.
Yes.
Especially with consultants that I have seen is, and this can be applied to anybody.
Yeah.
They might give you excuses that not to do this thing, I can't do this. What I feel is that it's that comfort that you will give them, that it's okay to fail. I'm there to help you if you fail also.
Okay.
So they want to be operating in their comfort zone. take them out of their comfort zone. I think that will also help them move from either from the lazy zone to the relaxed or to the peaking.
Great. You have anything to say about visual Nilambaran saying about
That's another. I have thought about it myself in terms of many some context. You can't use the pyramid principle.
Okay.
But if you are providing people with recommendations, solutions, etc., you tell them, what is required in the beginning. Say, for example, I'm going to buy a car.
Okay.
There are 5 options of the cars which are there. Right? Now, what am I going to do? The audience says, look, the client comes and says, look, this is what I'm looking at. This is the budget. The person will go and say, look, sir, I would recommend this car to you. And then explain what are the benefits. Now the person will ask, if that person doesn't want that, and say, look, then there are options. A good salesman always comes and says, sir, these are the 1 or 2 of my things which I would provide to you based on my experience. Then you can look at all the other 10 which are lying around here. And then go down next. So it can be applied in multiple places, especially where there is a recommendation involved. And a lot of your analysis and paralysis will all be behind to support your recommendations.
Great. Eldos Isaac has a question for you. He says, as a consultant, how do you leverage the latest technology?
It depends on what is the need of the client organizations. I'll tell you, for example, a lot of the solutions that we used to offer in the pre-COVID era were very personal. That means our consultants used to be in the offices of the clients and work together and things like that.
Okay.
Now, almost 30%, 40% of them have completely got digitized.
Yes.
The tools have even used AI, ML technologies, all those things which could be used.
Yes.
So it all happened in the 6 months. Now, I would say technology disruption is going to happen, and leveraging that as quickly as possible, because otherwise the clients would not have worked with us.
That's right.
So it's again the need-driven, the client-driven technologies that we have to use. And
so it is not a technology-driven consulting; it's a need-driven technology consulting. That's
what we have done it. I think there are people who are doing the technology consulting. That's a different story.
Right. Balakrishnan, our vice president, has a question for you. He asks, why you put the title consulting mindset in the title, though the content has less correlation with consulting mindset. Consultancy lacks ownership. Surgeon is not a consultant. Oh, you have take the bull by the horn. Yes, you have answers.
See, consulting mindset, when I put it, it's not being a consultant. It's right. You have a consulting mindset. You can be an HR manager. You can have a consulting mindset. You are a marketing manager. You're a salesperson. You can have a consulting mindset. Yeah. So I am looking. See what happens in a consulting. Sometimes it's all get peaked.
Yes.
It gets peaked. Look, I am doing 20 presentations in a week. My presentation skills sometimes have to be peaked because there are chances of failure in all this 20. Right. I don't want that to happen. So why I use that is that, these skills are all relevant to all professionals. Pygmalion effect, for example, anybody can use it.
Yes.
What is a consultant doing? Consultant ability is, I think, but there are certain things which are very important, right? How do a consultant go first? He has to build network, go there to a client, understand the client issue, provide a solution which is relevant, then execute on that. There's a project management, which is a very strong thing. Project management, for example, is a skill everybody uses, but this will be used very regularly in the consult. So what is this? That are these skills. What I've done is pull them together into a gist of these insights and say, look, these are some of the skills which a consultant uses, mindset which is built over a period of time, which is also relevant for any professional in their realm.
He's asking you a question that surgeon is not a consultant. Do you have anything to say? A surgeon is not a consultant.
Why does he think so?
I don't know. So you answer.
So that's another question.
Oh, so you countered a question, right? Yeah. Right. Okay. So then let me take the question from Admiral Madhusudan. He had actually put up a question here. I'm just trying to take that out. He's asking, I find many firms expecting the consultant to do everything on their behalf, ending up being very dependent upon the consultant and expect them to handhold for a long period of time. How do you wean the firm away?
Okay. So there have been the traditional consulting organizations like McKinsey's of the world or the BCG's of the world.
Yeah.
Actually, they all said that, look, we are going to give you the overall strategy and recommendations and leave you with that.
Yes.
But after that, what is generally happening is that people say that, look, we don't want your recommendations. You show and give us the outcomes. If it is a cost management, cost cutting, you show and you take your money out of showing that what is to be the outcome, right? And third element is, so then they get into the implementation. They get the organization in terms of doing what they are recommending.
Yep.
So then it gets built up. Now what they also do is, after a period of time, some part of the business, that is a transactional business also, they said, look, you guys are not so good at doing it. We will do it on your behalf. This is Accenture consulting on purchase and procurement. Many of the procurement of the organizations are done by Accentures of the world.
Right.
They said, look, we will handle your procurement. This will give you maximum returns and cost management.
Yes.
So that has happened. Fourth is, like you were saying, there are consultants you hired for some part.
Yes.
They get in the system or a period of time, and the dependency becomes, they're almost like they might be working for 2-3 companies, and they're almost like your organization entity.
Yes.
Once you are made, if you ever get a better resource or you're getting somebody trained over a period of time, please replace that person. But is there a need for that is a question mark.
Thank you, Sandeep. We have almost the time. One or two questions are pending, so I'll just leave it at that. So that is Sandeep Krishnan, who had said that to how to develop a consulting mindset. He said about the impacting presentations and the storytelling abilities. He also said about the critical thinking abilities, the knowledge and the framework that he had touched upon, networking, very critical element that he has touched upon, and also he came to golden rules such as Pygmalion and Rosendal effect, etc. Okay, Sandeep, thanks a lot. Really appreciate for a short call that I made, and you have been able to make it and present it to us. And in Ningalda Sadasudamaya Shairil Tanya presentation, വളരെ നിർവികാരനായ എന്നാൽ വളരെ knowledgeable ആയ ഒരു presentation. Always, in fact, last time when you came to KMA convention also, you started presenting. We were sitting listening to you. Then we went into that. We thought, my goodness, here comes real knowledge. But you actually put it in a manner, it just comes at matter of fact level. Thank you very much. I will hand over the meeting, the rest of the proceedings to Chair Madhav Chandan. Madhav.
Thank you, SR, and thank you, Dr. Sandeep, for that very eloquent talk which you delivered just now. I'm going by the number of questions which were popping up in the chat box. I mean, you can make out the kind of involvement the audience had in what you were saying. As SR rightly said, you explained it so well and very simple terms, and you never had the air of a huge training coach kind of a was there, but then at the same time, straight from the heart talk which you delivered, and I'm sure it must have given a lot of value to those who attended this session. Thank you so much, Sandeep. It was wonderful having you here, and definitely our secretary will propose the formal vote of thanks, but let me thank you from the bottom of my heart to be here in this festive season when we are waiting for the new year to come up and spending some time with KMA and our delegates. Thank you so much. Before I hand over to our secretary, let me just inform you, we have a series of programs lined up in the coming days. New Year is going to be really action-packed. We are having the next Leader Talk session with somebody very, very special. That is our New Year gift to you. We have our brand new Mayor of Cochin, Mr. M. Anil Kumar. Thanks to our past President Raj Mohan Nayar's personal connection with him, he has assured that KMA event will be the first event he is going to address, and that's going to be on the 5th of January at 6 p.m. He is going to come to KMA and going to interact with our delegates. That is on the 5th Leader Talk session. There's a 6th of Leader Talk session, which is happening on the 5th of January at 6 p.m. Cochin Corporation Mayor, Mr. M. Anil Kumar addressing KMA. We have one more Leader Talk session already lined up, thanks to our Program Committee Chair and past President S.R. Nair. We have Sri Venu Rajamani, IFS, retired, the former diplomat who made Kerala proud. who has come back home after his illustrious career, going to address KMA on the 8th of January in the next edition of Leader Talks session. That is the seventh one in our series, which is on 8th of January. More details will be sent to you very soon, the topic as well as what he's going to talk on. But for now, it is Sri Venu Rajamani, IFS retired, going to talk to us on 8th of January. And to top it all, we have the next event of the Women Managers Forum. You have seen the first event, which was a panel discussion which happened last month. And they had assured that every month we'll have one event, and we have the next one on the 14th of January. That is the next Thursday after next, or rather the Thursday, that's 14th January from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. This will be a masterclass on digital marketing by renowned trainer Aarti Srinath, a partner of Inception Business Services. This will be a special session for 90 minutes and will require prior registrations. A hands-on digital growth masterclass specially designed to help startups, SMBs, and traditional businesses leverage digital marketing to grow. Basically about how do you start digital marketing, how do you plan the channels and content, how do you measure the results. All this and more will be answered in this 45 minutes masterclass with a time-tested framework. The speaker will share real-life tips, examples, and tools to enable the attendees to not only appreciate the power of digital marketing, but also empower them to get started on their digital journey. It's planned as a 45 minutes masterclass followed by 30 minutes of Q&A. That is on the 14th of Jan on the Thursday at 4 p.m. More details will be sent to each one of you very soon. This is by Women Managers Forum. And that's it about the event. So please keep watching all the notifications and the invites which are coming from KMA through all kinds of media, be it SMS, WhatsApp, or email. And please be tuned in to the KMA activities which we are lining up for a very, very insightful and meaningful set of action for the coming month as well. Now it is over to our vibrant secretary, honorary secretary, CA Jomon K. George, to offer the formal vote of thanks. Jomon.
Thank you. Good evening to all of you. Extremely nice to be here again for the Leader Talks program. And the last 40 minutes, Sandeep kept us really engaged, which is evident from the questions which are posted in the, partly belong to the tribe of consultants. So we know that it's not an easy job. The saying, or somebody saying that lacks ownership is not fully right. Consultants do come in, make revolutionary changes in organizations, small to big, where most of the time we feel that managements live the way they lived for the last 30 years. We'll continue to live like that, continue with the same systems, processes, people which have been there for a very long time. So the real shake-up happens when you feel that, yes, there is need for a change. We need to grow to the next level, adapt newer technologies, adopt new strategies. And all those things the consultants are robbed in, and precisely why, as a tribe, consultants thrive across the globe. So internal machinery or muscles are not sometimes enough to drive organizations up in the scaling platform. Therefore, that's where consultants come in. And Sandeep, with his rich academic experience and real hands-on experience with large organizations, EY, he was quoting his experience in Manappuram and all that, could throw a new light into how we go about. And the mindset is very important in consulting. So to understand, as SR highlighted, that to have the customized, you cannot have a fit-all consulting package and go to XYZ. What we go to ABK and Jojit cannot be the same thing in V-Guard when we go. So therefore, that kind of perspective, a generic mode also he has presented. So much, Sandeep Krishnan, for your presence here. You're not here the first time. Please continue to support the KMA's initiatives this year. We are spearheading responsible management under the leadership of our new president. We have a lot of programs lined up. We have the StartCon conversation with startups and all that. So thank you once again on behalf of all of us here for spending your time this evening. And we know your schedule. So thank you so much from all the brilliant coordination, seamless monitoring you have done through the program. It was wonderful. Screening the questions, swapping the points, all that was really wonderful. So thank you, SR. And thanks, Secretariat, Lieutenant Jojo Jacob and the team, Pranjit, Padmore, everyone there for putting the elements together to make another wonderful KMA evening. Good learning. I think it was very effective learning for 100 plus participants on screen with us and others on YouTube. So stay tuned. And before I conclude, let me also wish you a wonderful 2021. 2020 has not been a very great year for all of us, but still in KMA, we leveraged on technology. We didn't stop. KMA never slept. KMA never put a foot back, thanks to Jibu Paul and then the team, immediate past president. We continue to move in the right spirit in spite of some adversity still not running away from us. But let's hope, pray, and work for a wonderful 2021. Stay blessed. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Secretary. Though your lingo was troubling, a bit in between, as usual, very good vote of thanks, and of course, very happy New Year to each one of you. Sandeep, it's not over yet. We have a memento for you. It's not virtual; it's a real one, which is going to come your way by courier. It's a very specially curated one of KMA, which is a signature memento, which will show the proof of you being here. It's the current picture, which is going to be printed on that. It will be coming to you very soon. And once again, thank you so much for your time and words, and we really are happy for that. Thank you, SR, and thank you all of you for being there in large numbers till this moment. Thank you all. Have a very happy New Year. Let's look forward to a great new start.